Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, I know that for the last few days you have been going through different items relating to the Christmas story, and has been assigned to me to share with you about the three wise men as they are traditionally known. Um, and so I'm going to start right away and people can jump in as they see or as they are ready, or if not, they can catch up on the recorded video. So, let me share with you uh, the story of the three wise men, also known as the Magi, is a fascinating part of the Nativity narrative, filled with mystery and intrigue. It's found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Um, let's turn there, shall we? Matthew 2, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, starting at verse 1, and it says, Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the Great, Herod the King, rather, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. Now, just a little bit of background on those two verses. Herod the Great. Herod the Great, set apart from other Herods in the Bible, was a non Jew who was appointed king over the region of Judea by the Roman Senate in 40 BC. And he ruled only 3 short years from 37 to 40 BC. He was a cruel and hard hearted man who murdered many members of his family, including his wife and 3 sons. He was also remembered for the building or repairing or restoring of many buildings and monuments during his reign. Now, let's talk a little bit about the origin of the wise men. The Bible refers to the wise men as magi from the east. Different translations will have different interpretation of that word magi. But the word magi is a Greek word describing any person well respected in the pagan world for their expert knowledge in the following: the occult, the arts, astrology, medicine, and dream interpretation. It is believed that they were probably members of a highly educated religious class from the region of Persia or southern Arabia, now called Iran. They likely specialized in natural science, medicine, and astrology, the study of the position of objects in the heavens, with the belief that their motion influence and affect people. They are traditionally known as the three wise men or the three kings. But whoever they were, it is probably safe to say that they were scholars in one or more of the schools of knowledge we mentioned earlier. The Bible is silent regarding the exact number and their specific origin. Although we would call them the three wise men or the three kings, the Bible does not mention the number of wise men that there were. But Bible scholars have speculated that they have come from probably Persia, Arabia, or even India. They were likely scholars, possibly astronomers, as they were guided by a star to find Jesus. The Bible doesn't tell us the distance these wise men traveled or how long it took. However, considering they might have traveled from Persia or Arabia, the journey could have taken hundreds or, if not, thousands of miles. This journey would have taken several months, even up to 2 years. If this were the case, then Jesus would not have been a baby who had just been born in a stable. He would at this time have grown to be a young child, possibly 2 years old. In verse 11 of Matthew chapter 2, it tells us that these wise men found Jesus in a house. Now, the sense in which this word house is used describes a dwelling that serves as living quarters for one or more families. So, our traditional perception of the nativity scene with Joseph and Mary, with the baby Jesus lying in a feeding trough, surrounded by some domesticated animals, some shepherds, and three wise kings, all bathed in the light of an unusually large and bright star directly overhead, would be completely false. Now let's look a little further at the wise men. On their long journey, they would have faced uh, certain dangers, such as harsh weather, difficult terrain, wild animals, and bandits. Now, we must remember with our mindset on this generation where we live, uh, traveling is easy. Although we moan and groan about it, traveling is relatively easy in comparison to these days that we're talking about. There were no paved roads. Um, there were no fast transportation. It was camel, donkey, carts, caravans that traveled slow across desert regions and rough terrains, hills and around mountainsides. Um, but they would have been in danger of more than that, because in those times, um, highway robbers were frequently, like highwaymen of the 17th and 18th century. Uh, Robbers made their living, some of them in those days, by attacking caravans and individuals who traveled along frequented trails from one town or city to another. So they would have been traveling for several months or maybe up to 2 years, um, in some of these conditions. Moreover, the political intrigue surrounding the birth of Jesus posed a significant risk. King Herod, feeling threatened by the prophecy of a new king of the Jews, asked the wise men to report back to him once they found Jesus. Now, there's a twofold threat here, one to the person of Jesus, the baby, but also to the three wise kings, also, or the there I go, tradition, three wise kings. Of these wise men, had they reported back to Herod, he would have most certainly killed the baby, since he tried later on to eliminate him. But he would most likely have killed the three wise. There we go, the wise men, so that this word would not get out to anyone else. In verse 3, we read, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled. When he heard that the wise men were seeking this new king, he was troubled. And in all Jerusalem were with him. They were all troubled. And assembling all of the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them, where is the Christ to be born? They told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for it is written by the prophet, and you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. When Herod summoned the wise, sorry, then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, go, search diligently for the child, And when you find him, bring me word that I too may come and worship him. Verse 9. After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. We have just talked about the potential danger to Jesus um, that these wise men posed upon him by bringing to light that a new king of the Jews was born. But let's look at their gifts. The gifts the wise men brought, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, were not random gifts. They held deep spiritual significance. Gold, a symbol of kingship on earth, represented Jesus' royal standing. Frankincense, a symbol of deity, was used in worship, signifying that Jesus is divine. And myrrh, a symbol of death, often used in embalming, foreshadowed Jesus' suffering and death. Now, the story of the wise men is a tale of faith, courage, and recognition of Jesus' divinity. It serves as a reminder of the lengths to which these faithful pagan scholars went to honor Jesus and the significant spiritual symbolism of their gifts. Their journey and the gifts they offered hold important lessons for us today about recognizing and honoring the divine presence of Jesus in our lives. So, what can we possibly learn from this story of the wise men? Well, number one, we recognize that they went to extraordinary lengths to be in the presence of Jesus. We talked about the length of the journey, the dangers of the journey, uh, the conditions of the journey was anything but comfortable. They went to extreme lengths to be in the presence of Jesus. In this present day, our day, as Christians, we have immediate access to the presence of Jesus. There are no harsh conditions we have to face. There is no danger of being beaten and robbed. And yet, how often do you and I enter into his presence? Number two, the wise men came with gifts for this new king. Today, sad to say, when you and I come into his presence, it is more often to ask for something rather than to give him something. What could we possibly give to Jesus? You might well ask. Well, we have in our possession three precious gifts that God does not have. Indeed, God desires these gifts from us. So, what are these gifts that are so precious in God's sight that we possess? Number one, we can give him thanks from a grateful heart for all that he has done for us. Number two, we can give him our worship like we do, hopefully, like those of you watching do uh, every Sunday morning or maybe Saturday night and or Sunday, but the Lord's Day that has been dedicated to him. We can give him our worship anytime at a moment's notice. Doesn't have to be just on the days when we go to the church building. Your life, and that's a study for another time, but our life is called to be a life of worship. Number three, we can give him our time, the most precious commodity we possess. When we spend that, there is no returning, there is no getting it back. It is the most precious commodity you and I have. They did not sell Jesus out to Herod. These are all things I'm hoping that we're going to reflect on ourselves in our relationship with God, especially on this Christmas time. So, they did not sell Jesus out to Herod. They did what God instructed them to do. They didn't do what the king of that region said. They did what God said. They were faithful to God before they were to the command of the king. Now, can I stir the pot a little bit? You might want to strap in just about now as we bring this home on this Christmas period. On this Christmas day, the greatest celebratory day on the Christian calendar, the greatest celebratory day on the entire Christian calendar. What or who are we planning to sell Jesus out to? Who or what will we put in preference before celebrating Jesus our King? Will we celebrate as the world does on this Christmas day with our earthly family, sharing a traditional big meal, exchanging and receiving gifts? These, in and of themselves, are not bad unless they become idols, things that we prioritize before God in any given time or place. Or will we celebrate with our spiritual family this birthday, as it were, of Jesus, this memorial day that has been designated by the Christian world, by the church, every year on the 25th of December? Will we celebrate that day with our spiritual family, gathering together at our places of worship, rejoicing in the greatest gift from Jesus, his life, death, and resurrection? Will we be giving him our precious gifts of time, thanksgiving, and worship? Will we, God's sons and daughters, put Christ back into our Christmas? Even as we cry out on our social media platforms, admonishing others to do so. I am asking God that you be blessed and have a wonderful Christ centered Christmas. I love you all. God loves you even more. Love him as he deserves this Christmas. Put nothing or no one before him, neither your family, nor your spouse, nor your fiance, nor your brothers and sisters. Put God first. For me and my house, we will be at a place of worship. Actually, we are having our own at a rehab that we go to every week. We are going there on Christmas Day to have a Christmas service with them because no one else will be doing anything at that rehab that day. They are forgotten people, especially on that day, but not forgotten by God. So God placed it upon our heart that we go there and we share with them the love of God. Where will you be on Christmas Day? What is your priority on the day of Christ's birthday? Is he even, are you planning for him to be even involved in the things that you're doing? Be blessed and have a wonderful Christmas. And now I have to find out how I can log out of this thing to end it all because I am not familiar with it. And it may go on forever. And Alicia may put something in the text for me. Oh, I see it. End live video. My. Do not get old. Stay young forever into all eternity. Bye bye. I love you guys.